Hello everyone, Kurt Klein with Hallmark University here today. We're going to focus on Don Iacobucci's Marketing Management, 5th edition, and we are currently in Chapter 6. So if you've been following around, we've gone through the STP, segmentation, targeting, and positioning, and now we're going to be focusing on the 4 Ps. So remember the 4 Ps, first one is products, goods, and services. So in the marketing framework, what we're looking at is we're looking at what is a product, how are goods different from services, and why do these differences matter to the marketer. And then we're also looking at what are the core elements of the firm's market offering and how does the product definition help us identify the competition, right? So let's take a look here. And discussion question number 1. Is Arnold Schwarzenegger a product? Interesting question, right? He might be seen as a commodity in the sense of a blockbuster film, big action star. At this point in time, he's aging a little bit, so what kind of roles is he playing? That's a really good question for later on down the line, right? But is Arnold Schwarzenegger, in and of himself, a product? He's a person. He's not really a thing. He's massive. But is he a product? Does he sell? Good question to look at, right? Fast forward to somebody like Ryan Reynolds. Is he a product, right? So Arnold Schwarzenegger is a little bit more interesting in the sense that he was a Mr. Olympia bodybuilding champion and an action film star. So is he somebody you see doing a drama or a comedy? Is he the type of product you could package in that particular envelope, as it were, and sell it, right? Now that begs the question, the next question, what is a product? Could it be a person? Could it be a thing? Could it be a place? Could it be a destination? Could it be an experience? Is that the product, right? Could it be something virtual? So when we think about it, a product can be either a good or a service. It is the most essential decision in the 4 Ps because it is what the consumer is receiving in that exchange, right? So the customer is looking to get some sort of benefit. For said benefit, they are exchanging money. That money, hopefully, the company is able to turn around and create a profit with, right, in exchange for the product. So when we think about it, marketing exchange, the company offers something, product, that will benefit the customer. The product can be designed to be more or less attractive. It can increase or decrease quality, service, etc. That should have a corresponding increase in demand, possibly supply as well. The customer offers something in return. Payment. The customer can be more or less attractive, right? When you get into sales, when you run your own business, even when you're working for somebody else's business, you might find a notion called bad money. Right? You could take somebody's money, but the experience or the exchange is going to be bad. It's going to cost you more than what it's really worth, right? And time will tell what bad money is. You've got customer A, awesome, has defined goals, really likes the product or service that you're offering. You've got customer B, and that person has a complaint or a constructive criticism for every single aspect of your product. If you're talking about a product that costs $10, customer A, I want thousands and thousands and thousands of them. Customer B, please go somewhere else, right? So the customer offers something in return, payment. The customer, again, can be more or less attractive. High, low loyalty, high or low maintenance, and spreads positive word of mouth. That customer A that we just talked about, they're the ones that are going to spread the positive word of mouth. That customer B, not so much. So again, for $10, customer B, I would encourage them to seek their benefits somewhere else, right? So the marketing exchange continued. Marketers need to determine what the customer or customers want in order to increase the likelihood of the exchange. Determine what the company can profitably offer. All right, so marketing exchange continued. Marketers need to determine what the customers want in order to increase the likelihood of exchange. Determine what the company can profitably offer, right? The goal is to create mutually beneficial exchanges that result in long-term customer relationships. So we've all heard customer relationship management, CRM software and platforms. And the idea is, how do we keep them going? What's the likelihood that this particular relationship is awesomely beneficial to both sides? Because that one, we can continue to get great returns on our investment. Now, you could say something like a cell phone, just recently upgraded from an iPhone S to an iPhone XR. The 11 is out, but still a little buggy, so I want to let them get that into its second generation before I pull the trigger on that. But the XR has been proven. It's got great ratings. Well, you could argue that that's a long-term, mutually beneficial arrangement. It kind of is and it kind of isn't, right? The fact that every 2 to 3 years, all of a sudden my perfectly functioning phone doesn't work so well. The battery charge is one moment it's 100, the next it's 72, the next it's 38, and then I've got 3%. That happened in like 5 minutes. So somehow they're forcing me through manipulation of the software to buy a new phone. There's nothing wrong with that phone. It's 2-3 years old tops. I had Nokia phones that used to last back in the day when cell phones first came out in the 90s, that would last for years. But they're looking to create a mutually beneficial exchange. I thought the speed of the 6S was just fine. Honestly, I'm a child of the Dewey Decimal System. The fact that I could look at a telephone and pull up the world through Google or whatever other search engine, that's pretty amazing, right? So the goal is to create mutually beneficial exchanges that result in long-term customer relationships. We haven't talked about happy or upset customer relationships, right? So in the Verizon example with the cell phone, I feel like my hands are tied. Like if I went to AT&T from Verizon, same thing. Go to Sprint, same thing. Cricket, yeah, do they actually pick up anywhere? T-Mobile, who knows, right? I mean, at some point in time, there will be one cell phone company. We'll all be up a creek. So discussion questions number 2. Discuss an example of a situation where a company is only looking for a discrete transaction with a customer. So discuss an example of a situation where a company is only looking for a discrete transaction with a customer. What would that be? Right? Well, discrete transaction with a customer, something that's quiet. What are we talking? Like maybe plastic surgery? Discrete? Go in, go out. All of a sudden you went from, whatever age you are to 20 years younger. Right? So that's a weird transaction. Well, what else might there be? What about those low T centers for guys? Right? Discrete transaction. Nobody puts a big sign on the back of their car that says, hey, I'm on my way to the low T center. Right? So think about it, discrete transaction. What's the cost for that? It's probably pretty high, right? When you think about it, as opposed to going to your traditional general practitioner. Interesting transaction. Discrete transaction. Why do marketers want to create long-term relationships? That's our next question. So marketers want to create long-term relationships because at the end of the day, if they get you on the hook and they no longer have to keep you on the hook because you're going to stay on the hook, well, that's why they want to do it, because then they can go after the next person, right? It also creates longevity and sustainability of their product and their life cycle, so they can constantly keep you going. So long-term relationship, I've been with Verizon since 2001. It's 2019. 18 years. You'd think I'd get some sort of a better deal, but it is what it is, right? But it is a long-term relationship. In the grand scheme of things, if their quality wasn't there and I didn't have 4, 5, 6 bars, whatever it is these days, in every single market that I travel to, they'd be out. But they do. They have the best network, in my opinion, as far as coverage. I never drop a call. It's a long-term relationship. 18 years, right? So goods versus services. Goods and services differ in terms of intangibility, search, experience, credence, perishability, and variability. Lots of abilities going on here. So let's take a look at that. Intangibility, goods versus services. The extent to which you have something concrete. So if it's intangible, right? Pure goods, ergo paper, and phone. Pure services, massage and babysitting, hybrids, restaurant and beauty salon. You go there, you leave, and you still have what you went there for, right? Experience marketing. Consumers are buying the experience, like ESPN, Zone, and Build-A-Bear, right? So the ESPN Zone, Build-A-Bear, you go there, you get a cool experience, and then you get to also come away from it with something tangible to a certain degree. But that might, if it's the experience of building it, that comes and goes, right? If it's the experience doing it, that comes and goes. So in essence, that really is intangible. Goods versus services, qualities. Search qualities may be evaluated prior to purchase. So cars always comes to mind. When you think of the search quality, goods versus services, you can evaluate prior to purchase. Personal training. You can watch the individual as they're working in the gym, their attentiveness to their client, that sort of thing. Their own physical appearance, right? Nobody hires the fat trainer, right? Let's be real. But when that person revolves around the client constantly as a service, man, that says to me that's a very attentive human being, and they're really focused on correcting that individual's form and making sure they're being safe and getting the results they want with less wasted efforts, right? Automobile. You can test drive the thing. You hear a clicking noise in the engine, you might pass on that one, right? Experience qualities. Need, trial, consumption, before evaluation. Credence qualities. Difficult to judge, even post-consumption. Credence, right? What's it mean? Credibility. What's it mean? Did they satisfy their word? It's the very best, etc., etc. Was it? Is there better? So think about that. Goods versus services qualities. Goods are dominated by search and experience qualities, right? Services are dominated by experience and credence qualities. And the credibility is, a lot of it has to do with word of mouth, testimonials, that sort of thing. But professional service providers are beginning to understand the value of marketing, create professional appearance and setting, and tap their own networks, right? So when you think about it, it's the professional appearance and the setting, just like we talked about with that personal trainer example. If the trainer looks fantastically fit and is constantly hovering, helicoptering over their client and, adjusting every minute detail of the exercise, then we know that looks really good. But then, their shirt's tucked in. They don't have a mustard stain on their shirt. They've got their name tag in the right place. And they look like they're bearing. Now, we've got a lot of military folks in school these days, but their bearing is that of someone who's professional. You can tell the difference, right? So goods versus services, perishability. Perishability. Services are simultaneously produced and consumed. Thus, services cannot be stored, right? I'm a personal trainer. I'm going to think really hard about your exercise. Can't store it. I can store it, but you can't store it, right? So goods can be stored, right? Let's take soup. You can store cans and cans and cans of soup in your cupboard. How many personal training services can you store in your cupboard? None? Needs to be a bigger cupboard. So marketers need to even out the demand, right, when it comes to the services side of things. Services cannot be separated from the provider. Goods can. So when we think about my wellness business, I'm it. If clients don't like the way I take my approach, or they don't like my philosophy where health and fitness is concerned, that's kind of me, right? And then if they like my idea, but they don't like the way I look, they don't want to work with a crazy bearded looking fella, then chances are one of us is out of luck, right? Goods can. Services cannot be separated from the provider. So in a consulting type position, in a consultancy of some sort, you're the product. So maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger can be a product, right? Goods can be manufactured at the plant, sent to a distribution center, and then sold. So when we think about perishability, the goods can be separated from the provider, right? Because the folks at GMC don't come down constantly and help drive around your car or your truck. They can make it where they're making it, send it to the dealer, you buy it at the dealer, you're on your own, right? You've got the product, it's no longer connected to the company. Customer service, provider interaction becomes part of the service, right? So that's something to be aware of. Goods versus services, variability. So variability, goods are made by machines, services are usually people intensive. Services change across customers and across time. Marketers need to reduce bad variability and enhance good variability. Makes sense, right? Self-service is advancing in many industries. So goods are made by machines, services are usually people intensive. Self-service is becoming more and more a thing. Look at the grocery stores. Look at Target, look at Walmart. They all have self-service checkout. So kind of a variability, right? That seems to be good variability in the sense that I don't have to wait in a line. I can go as fast as I want to scan, and I'm not reliant upon another person. But then from a marketing perspective, everybody should be marketing, remember. How do you market to employees that their job was replaced by a self-service kiosk, right? How do you repurpose those folks? Just something to think about. Discussion question number 3. What steps can marketers take to reduce bad variability? And then what really is bad variability, right? So that's something to think about. How do we take the bad variables and reduce those? SWOT analysis. We talked about that. So let's see. Core versus value added. So let's think of a car, right? The core is, it's an automotive, automobile. Value added options could be financing, service plan, image, friendly staff, free coffee, right? That's a value add. But is it? So core is essential to the product offering. So if you say you're selling cars and you don't have any cars, you're missing your core, right? Value added is supplemental, so you can use it to differentiate and improve satisfaction. If you've ever read the book Raving Fans, and I believe that's one of our videos here within the course, Raving Fans by Ken Blanchard talked about how do you differentiate the value add, right? Imagine if you walked into a grocery store, you threw everything into your basket, or you set up your grocery bags, you throw those things into it, you walk across the scanner, and it says you owe $112.15, and you wait for a second, and it goes ding, you've paid. You never unloaded the bags. You got to load the bags you wanted them to be like in the basket, or in the buggy as it were. Crowning the Customer, Raving Fans, 2 great books. Both of those talk about that particular element, right? So it's a value add. As a personal trainer, what I started doing is I started handing out, while I worked at Lifetime Fitness, cold water to every one of my clients. So a fresh, brand new bottle of cold water. And my boss looked at me and said, "How are you doing this?" And I said, "Well, we all wear black t-shirts with the Lifetime Fitness logo. We've got black shorts or black warm-up pants. We all wear basically black athletic shoes. We're all relatively fit, well-groomed, all very educated. A 10-cent bottle of water really makes a difference because people are like, oh, you're the guy giving out the free water. I want to work out with you." Really? It was a value add. I could differentiate me from all the other service providers. Usually I met all of my clients at the very top of the 2nd floor stairs with a fresh workout towel and a nice cold bottle of water. And they loved it, right? That differentiated me from everyone else. So imagine you go into an auto repair shop and they've got a Keurig, every flavor coffee you possibly want, and no cups. Well, they tried, right? That's a bad variable. But it didn't work out. Or you walk into an oil change place, and sure enough, the one down the street has that Keurig, 6 different types of creamers, cups, stirrers, you name it. Which one would you go to? Both the same price, both the same quality, both the same service. I like coffee, so I'm going to go to the place that's got the proper supplies set up, right? That differentiated them from the other folks. And then there's a mom and pop shop that might not be on top of their game. They don't offer anything. Matter of fact, you can just wait outside the garage. Rough, right? So you can use it to identify competition. So think about that for a second. Once you realize that your competition is the one that always does X and takes it one step further for the customer. I mean, think about it. With the Mercedes-Benz and BMW, and you see the loaner cars on the back of their particular vehicles that they've traded out while you're having your car worked on. It's not an old BMW. It's that year's model, and it's the slicked out, tricked out version, so it's got all the cool bells and whistles. I wonder what the conversion rate is of people having their 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old BMW Mercedes worked on, and they just go, you know what, let's trade in on this model. It separates them from the competition, right? So core versus value added. Again, core elements are expected by the customer, right? If you're selling cars, they expect you to have automobiles. If the core elements are substandard, dissatisfaction can be triggered, right? Makes sense. If it's a trashy model or if it's a trashy option, people aren't going to want it, right? Recall issued, poor quality, etc. You're going to have issues. So marketers can compete and differentiate on value adds. Generous service plan. We don't just do 3 years, 36,000 miles. We do 10 years, 100,000 miles. And people are like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Realistically, that 100,000 mile thing, that's happening faster and faster because we're driving more and more, right? So the generous service plan may or may not do it. But Hyundai ran that particular 10-year, 100,000 mile warranty for years, trying to establish themselves and differentiate themselves from GM and Honda and Toyota and all those other big players that had a 3-year 36,000. Because when you look at it and you go 10-year 100,000, man, I got 3 times what they're offering me over there, and I got like half the price. It's an unknown product to a certain degree, but that's how they handled themselves when they first hit the U.S. shore, right? So add good staff to that, you can differentiate yourself, right? If you've ever called Zappos customer service, they are awesome. They will give you whatever you need in return for your dissatisfaction. You want your money back? No problem. No questions asked. You want a new set of shoes? Great. This one showed up with a broken lace. We'll replace the whole thing. They're awesome at it, right? Core versus value added. Once again, last one, 303 here. Core businesses may change as industries and firms change, right? So Victoria's Secret was 70% apparel, but it is now 70% beauty and fragrance. What's the ROI? Beauty and fragrance? I bet that is off the chart, and a higher turnover, right? Because back in the day, Victoria's Secret had amazing quality. I don't know how their quality is these days. I don't shop there anymore. So when you think of it like that, Victoria's Secret had amazing quality. So if you're buying whatever the apparel is, you might notice that it lasts and it lasts and it lasts and it lasts and it lasts. But if you find that one fragrance you personally can't get enough of, nor can your special somebody get enough of, man, I bet you're burning through that really fast. The turnover is higher, right? So their core business shifted to what made better sense for them. It's a key to continually ask, what business are we really in? And who are our true competitors? So when you think of the example of Victoria's Secret, what business are they really in? Beauty. What does that span? Well, the apparel, the beauty products, and of course the fragrance, because we're looking to enhance all the senses, the experience, right, for the individual. And who are their true competitors? Tough to tell these days, right? It might be Aerie, it could be Fredericks. So lots of competition within that realm. And then more and more we're finding lots of fantastical competition on Amazon with no-namers. And then some bigger names, right, that are up and coming. So when we think about it, we want to take a look now at the competition through the customer's eyes. So imdb.com, other online entertainment information sources. Movies.com. I don't have a movies.com on my iPhone. The app I have is IMDb, mostly because I can tap on that and be like, this is episode 6 of season 5, and who played Smith? And you can find out. And what else were they in? Oh, that's right, they were in that movie, right? So online or IRL sources of entertainment information. So TV Guide and TVGuide.com, CBS.com, People Magazine, Entertainment Tonight. So competition through the customer's eyes, right? So we started with IMDb, and when you get really bigger, there's massive competition. So we can define the competition broadly. Car companies compete with the other means of transportation, like bus, taxi. They're starting to find out that Uber and Lyft and all those other guys are tough. So, when we think of like the Prius, we could also think of other hybrids. Quick, name one. And everybody might be sitting there going, oh, well, there's the Prius, and then what else is there? Oh, Tesla. Honda has some. There's the Volt by Chevy or GM. There's a EcoMax, I think, if I'm not mistaken, from Ford. And who else has hybrids, right? Cadillac does, BMW does, they all have them. But the one that comes to mind, the groundbreaker, is Prius. So competition through the customer's eyes, if I was looking at hybrids, I gotta be honest, the first one I'd look at is a Prius. It's a Toyota. And it's the one that I equate to hybrid. Then there's other cars, and then there's other transportation. So if you live in a massive urban area, Uber and Lyft might be the thing. You don't need to think about cars, right? So product lines, breadth and depth. Product mix, a company's product lines, right? What all are you selling? Breadth, the number of product lines. So you've got the product mix within a line, you've got the lines within the breadth. So Frigidaire sells refrigerators, washers, dryers, ranges, etc. The depth, the number of products in a line, Frigidaire refrigerators have different sizes and features, right? So there's a whole vast amount within. Product line could also be a vertical, right? So when we think about the Frigidaire refrigerators, you've got the little tiny guys that could fit in the dorm room, and then you've got the ones that could probably send you a Wi-Fi signal that says, hey, you're out of bread. Yikes. So discussion question number 4, which option has the least breadth? Which option has the most depth? So let's take a look here. Hair care, breadth and depth, right? So we've got shampoo, lightening conditioner, body enhancing spray, glossy shine gel, frizzy control lotion, limp hair fluffer infusion. Whew, that's a lot. And that's within a salon, right? So if we look at a grocery store from a depth perspective, we've got hair care, shampoo, conditioner, frozen treats, apple pie, ice cream. If we look at large discount store, right? If we look at the breadth, they've got a greater breadth because they've got hair care, shampoo, conditioner, frozen treats, apple pie, ice cream, automotive, tires, windshield fluid, right? So that would be the breadth, more and more options, and then the depth. When we look at that salon, that depth for the hair care really gets it. Shampoo, lightening conditioner, body enhancing spray, glossy shine gel, frizzy control lotion, limp hair fluffer infusion. They've probably got even more stuff if they work with both men and women, right? And then we might have even greater depth if we throw in ethnic as well, right? So think that through for a second. Massive depth. But salons don't sell frozen treats. Maybe it's a new option, right? Could be something new on the horizon. But, grocery store, not as much depth, but greater breadth, right? So that's a great capacity there. So which option has the least breadth? I would say the grocery store, right? Which option has the most depth? Definitely the salon. So product line strategies. We've got product line managers can prune or supplement existing lines. So when we look at that, the simple one would be one product, one segment. This is what we make. This is who we sell it to. And then we've got the awesome product in several different categories. One segment, served totally well across the board. And then we've got multiple products and multiple segments for our product, right? So product line managers can prune or supplement existing lines. That's where that value add comes into play. Discussion question 5. Which firms above, or firm above, is leveraging its segment knowledge efficiently and inefficiently, right? So when we look at that third quadrant, the product where you've got multiple products and multiple segments, it could be one of those where you're digging a mile-wide hole that's about an inch deep, right? You've got this massive breadth, and you're scratching the surface, right? So that's something to be aware of. I would say it's multiple products and multiple segments. You've got to be a beast in overdrive with that one in order to make it work. So the one that really nails it, I think, is the company that's got one product that serves multiple segments. Because if one segment has a dip, the other segment has an uplift, or vice versa, right? And then the inefficiently, you might find yourself painted into a corner if you've got one product and one segment. Now, you might be awesome at that product and segment, but now your true threat, think of your SWOT analysis, is that competitors could enter the market, and now you're fighting. Managerial recap. Products are goods and services. Products are the central offering in the marketing exchange. Goods and services share similarities and differences. Services are relatively more intangible, inseparable, perishable, and variable, right? A firm's market offering is comprised of the core and the value addeds. Consider competition broadly. Competition can evolve over time as product lines are further developed in length and breadth. That's Chapter 6, folks. Join me next time, Chapter 7.